What is good, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the WeSportin Podcast. And today we have a big signing in the NBA. Blake Griffin, Mr. Balake, signs a minimum deal of $1.2 million to the Brooklyn Nets after the Detroit Pistons bought him out, and the Detroit Pistons are still paying his base salary contract of over $32 million a year until next year. Guys, let's just be quite forward here. This team it's stacked. It is stacked on the starting side of it. I mean, with now Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Blake Griffin, and now DeAndre Jordan, I think this team is absolutely insane. No one could even favor them not to win the Eastern Conference at this point. But guys, if you guys saw back in my first video, I don't think they're going to win the East still. I still don't think they'll win the East. I still got Philadelphia going to winning the whole thing, and with the Lakers coming out of it and the Lakers winning the whole thing. But that's my take on it. Drew, what do you think about this signing for the Nets?
What a steal. I think this is a low risk, high reward signing for Brooklyn, just because now you add Blake Griffin was an all-star in the 2018-2019 season. He's not that far removed, which I didn't know, by the way. Go figure. Good for Blake. I mean, he's been marred with injuries over the past 2 years. His production's gone down, and it's to the point where Detroit thought that it was worth it to buy out that contract. And now for what Brooklyn is paying Blake Griffin, it's very low risk, high reward if Blake Griffin can find that all-star form.
Right.
I mean, I think at worst, this is just a deal where you have him for half a year and then you can let him go. But if it works out, then home run. I think this is a pretty smart move by the Nets because now, like you said, top to bottom, that starting five is stacked. And although you still have Philadelphia winning the East, it's hard to compete with Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan.
But I'll tell you, let me just tell you.
I think this is I think this is a pretty good signing by the Nets. I understand they're a little thin on their bench.
It's not even that.
Which is important. But, for what they went out and got, I think pretty good signing.
Yeah, and guys, I'm just going to say really quickly, I think the Brooklyn Nets are an amazing team, and I'm not disregarding them at all. Here's the problem, though. You have Kyrie Irving, who wanted to be the number one guy. You have Harden, who's the number one guy. Durant, who's the number one guy. Blake Griffin, who's the number one guy. To where their respective teams were, Durant back in Oklahoma was the best player. Harden back in Houston was the best player. Kyrie back in Boston, let's say Boston. Let's give him his 3 year stint on Boston. That was the number one player. Blake Griffin, when Chris Paul was shipped off, Blake was the number one guy. I mean, I don't see a team succeeding around a bunch of number one players. Now, you can think I'm crazy for saying that and, think I'm done. I think this is a good signing for the Nets. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Blake Griffin, let's minus last year. Blake Griffin was scoring 15 points a game last year, 12 points a game this year. Obviously, he's been sitting out this year, holding out basically till he gets traded. But I think in just overall, I just don't see why the Nets need to keep stacking up their team to where they need to be. They were already dominant when they had Kyrie and Durant. Yeah, they were already good with that. And then went out and got James Harden, like I said, again, was not a bad deal at all. Then you go and add Blake Griffin. And it's like, at this point, what are you doing? Like, your team's already good enough. Why are you making it worse?
Well, okay, hold on. Can I speak to your number one guy's point for a minute? I think I agree with you. They have added a bunch of quote unquote number ones, if you want to describe them as that. A lot of alpha males, a lot of dogs on that team, a lot of egos that you have to manage. You already had two egos that you had to manage with Kyrie and Durant, and then you throw in Harden from Houston, and then you throw in Blake from Detroit. And then, so I understand where you're coming from, is that if they can manage their egos and they can understand to play as a team and play under a common goal and all that stuff, they have the talent to win the NBA finals. There's no doubt about it. They're a very, very talented squad. However,
they're not
no,
deep
that lineup has the talent to win the NBA Finals if it works, Nico. Don't
they're
kid
not
yourself.
deep. They're not deep. They're not deep. That's the problem. How many NBA championship teams have you seen that's had star players, but at least they had a mediocre bench that could put up points? I'll give it to Brooklyn. Brooklyn right now is sitting second in the East right now, below Philadelphia. They're right now sitting at 24-13. They're a half game behind. They are 9-1 in the last 10 games. 9-1 in the last 10 games. Now, like I said, guys, this team is lethal. Now, I'm going to just say this, guys, right now. Did they become more lethal? Absolutely not. Blake was not having a season where I can sit there and be like, holy crap, this team has now become amazing. No, everyone's saying that Blake Griffin's on the team is a big thing. It's because his name is Blake Griffin. I think this is just I think he's just now an average power forward to me. He's still a number one guy. But let's remember where he played in where he played the Detroit Pistons, which, by the way, the Detroit Pistons are sitting last in the East, 10-26. I'm going to give this signing, guys, a C+. Personally, I'll give it a C+. Drew, I mean, what would you give it maybe?
You know what? I'll give it a B. And here's why. I mean, you give it a C+ because doesn't make the Nets better right away. No. However, it's the low risk, high reward factor.
But what's the reward though? Like, what are you getting out of it?
If Blake Griffin returns to all-star form, then you have another dominant power forward. And you just add the missing piece in your starting lineup. Mm-hmm. I say starting lineup because we understand that they're not deep. They don't have much off the bench. Mm-hmm. In order to make a deep run, you're going to need guys to –
And they do. And they do have guys on their team. They do have guys on their team. I mean, I can just list off some of the names. They have Andre Roberson. Andre Roberson's a really good player. They have Jeff Green, who's also very good as well. We've seen Jeff Green to be very good. They have Joe Harris, who's a lethal shooter as well. They do have also Spencer Dinwiddie, but he is out for the whole season with a torn ACL injury. They have Iman Shumpert, who's very good, and they have Landry Shamet, who's very good as well. They have a lot of bench guys, but when it comes to like the big men and all that, and also rumors going around as well, Drew, and I know that we're talking about Blake Griffin, but let me just tell you this. Rumors coming around that Andre Drummond is looking to get bought out and to go sign with Brooklyn as well. Now,
that would solve their issue of big men because then you add another one. That's when it kind of becomes too much because Andre Drummond, again, is a number one. And then you're going to have to split minutes with DeAndre Jordan, and that's another.
Yeah, and guys, and DeAndre Jordan's not a bad player, guys. And
not at all.
I think what the Brooklyn Nets are.
Yeah, it's when do egos become too much?
Yeah, and that is true. And I could say this, though. I mean, one thing I will say about Philadelphia and the reason why I don't think they'll make the finals if anything happens is because they're home. You guys are going to think this is why are you saying this? At home, they are 16-3. At home. Away, they are 8-9. Meaning if they go to the playoffs and they go play a team that's deep, they're going to have a real hard time winning away. They're going to be playing a lot of game sevens, I'll tell you right now. They'll be playing a lot of game sevens.
Well, I mean, if they can go in and take care of business at home, then if they have the number one seed, then they'll have those game sevens, and it won't be a problem for them.
Yeah, very true. However, we're getting off topic.
We're getting off topic. Back to Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn guys. I don't personally see Brooklyn winning. I don't see them. This was kind of a pointless signing. They were doing just fine as it was. Yeah, I mean Blake Griffin's Blake Griffin, but Blake's not going to go and average 20 points a game now because
they don't need him to. Well, that's the other thing. They don't need him to.
No,
they don't need him to be the Blake Griffin of old. I mean, because you already have Kyrie, Harden, and Durant who shoot the lights out of the ball. They don't need Blake Griffin to drop 20 a game. They don't need him to throw down highlight dunks. Same thing if they acquire Drummond. Although I know that's what they're both used to. They don't need him to do that. And so that's where I think, the potential can, if it works out, why not?
Yeah, true. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to end it off right here as well. So if you guys enjoyed this video, thank you guys for watching. Tomorrow we're going to be having our well, Monday or Tuesday, whenever you guys see this video. Most likely you're going to see it tomorrow and later in the day. But we're going to also be having our discussion with Tim coming back on the show with our what is it, Big 12 and Big East videos. We're going to be discussing
Big East. We're going Big East.
The Big East, and also we're going to be in the is your college in the Big East or in the Big 12?
My school.
Yeah.
Butler, if you could see the background.
Yeah, Drew's at Butler.
Big East.
Yeah, he's in the Big East. Drew is at the Big East, and I know he's gonna be real excited to talk about his Bulldogs and that negative record.
Oh,
yeah. So, and I know the Bulldogs also upset at Villanova, but yes, let's end the video right here. So thank you guys for watching today's episode, and we'll have those videos out tomorrow. And peace.